Hey everyone! Today I'll be talking about Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time. So this is a video game adaptation of, that comes from the anime series Little Witch Academia, which itself, the anime comes from, I think, two little mini movies that were funded with those fan-funded sources. So I'll be talking about the game, and to talk about the game, I guess I have to go a little bit into the anime. It's a very interesting kind of anime. I feel like technically it's considered a magical girl kind of genre, but it's really nice, especially if you like those, maybe I shouldn't be comparing this, but if you like those Studio Ghibli movies, and, like those, old school anime, I feel like you'd like Little Witch Academia. The problem is that the difference between, like, originally it was released as like movies and then they made it into an anime series, and then a lot of people complained that the standards of the anime series, it wasn't as much compared to the movies that were originally released, and I kind of agree with that. Like, it's not to say that the anime is bad, but the anime is still good. The anime has, well, this is what confuses me. I guess it has two seasons, or you can say it's one big season that's divided into two parts. I'll just say two seasons. And basically, the game takes place between the two seasons. And, I'm not spoiling anything, of course. But the thing is with this Little Witch Academia is that the first half of the series, it's like non-connected episodes that don't really have an overarching plot, whereas the opposite is true in the second half. The second half, as I said, is like has an overarching plot with a villain and all of that kind of stuff, but the first season is just a bunch of goofy, wacky fun that is, it doesn't really continue between the episodes. And so for that reason as well, like, within just the anime itself, not even considering the movies, some people like the first half of the anime better. I know that for myself. I like the first half of the anime much, much better. But let's talk about the game. So this game, it is kind of pricey. I'm Canadian, so the prices are much higher, but it still is pricey for what you get. In terms of the artwork, it is cheap. The cutscenes, since everything, it is cheap. Now, everything is voiced, but everything is voiced only in Japanese, and you'll have to read the subtitles. This is a common trend I've been seeing with JRPG games released this year, and my speculation is that because of the voice actors strike over the past few years, a lot of the games that are releasing now, they were produced, being made a few years ago, and because they were affected by that strike back then, you're still going to see games that only have subs without dubs, put simply. No English voice acting, only subtitles that you'll have to read from. But the nice thing is that, all of the lines of dialogue in the game are actually, most of it is, if not all of it, is actually voiced, which is pretty amazing. Unfortunately, yeah, no English for you, and it kind of does screw you as a consumer as well. This was a big issue with one of the Atelier games that came out earlier this year. It was called Atelier Lydie and Suel. I can't pronounce it too well. So that one, a lot of people got pissed because all of the old Atelier games, they would get dubs, and this one didn't. And a lot of people were bitching because, well, they have the right to bitch, I would bitch too, about the price being the same, even though you're getting less for your money, and I kind of agree because, I can't afford unlimited games. Like, the trend with games is that it keeps getting worse and worse, and you keep getting less and less for your money as each year goes on. But going back to this game, the artwork is actually good. The level design, how should I say this? We can split this into the parts of the game where you talk. You roam around the school and you talk to the characters, most of whom appear in the anime. They're actually real canon characters. And then you have the battle segments where you're doing these dungeon crawling. You have to do these it's kind of like just shooting, like mashing a button and just shooting the enemies, and I'll talk about both of those. In terms of the artwork and stuff, the school design is actually really nice. Now, I don't like that they rotate the minimap a lot. I didn't see an option to make the minimap fixed, so I kept getting lost a lot, but after a while you'll learn the layout of the school. But the layout of the school does stay true to the anime, the characters as well. I really like the art style. The main characters, at least, they're very expressive. You'll see these kind of cel-shaded 3D animations. What you can compare this to is Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which came out, I think, last year. It's kind of like that. See, one of the big issues with this animation, though, is that although the style is good, like they kept it true to the anime. Like it's true, it's nice. It doesn't like seem out of place. The only criticism is that the frame rate of these animations is a bit low. So, like Dragon Ball Fighter Z, you notice how like it's not really a smooth animation. It looks kind of janky all over the place. Well, you'll see that in Little Witch Academia, unfortunately. But to compensate for that, at least, a lot of the main characters, they're very expressive. They have a wide range of facial like animations, hand movements, you know, kind of like how it was in the anime. So that's not too bad, I guess. I mean, it still has its charm. They kept the soundtrack from the anime as well, so it is actually nice to listen to. And the soundtrack is pretty decent, you know. And yeah, as I said before, the school that you can roam around is very lively. It has a lot of the NPCs from the anime, like not just the main 9 characters, but they have a lot of the other like minor characters as well. There's a lot of side quests in this game, which are referred to as sub-events in the game. These sub-events, you don't have to do them. Some of them are more important than the other ones, but you only have to do like a main quest line, and you don't have to do these sub-events, but if you do these sub-events, you know, they're fun. It's fun to just roam around the school, and just do these side quests with the characters, like laugh at these interactions, because that's what the anime was about too early on, the first half of the anime. It was just like watching the characters interacting with each other and just like having a good laugh at all of the facial emotions that they would be expressing. But, so it was really fun to do that. This game has a time system, and unfortunately the time system is pretty strict. I won't be spoiling anything with the plot. The plot does revolve around, you know, the time, travel and stuff, but I'm not gonna talk about that too much. But the thing is, every hour the game updates, so the characters will end up, the characters don't move. The characters, the NPCs that you find when you're interacting in your school life, they're all stationary. But after an hour passes, you'll get like a loading screen, and the characters will shift around. And this isn't like a AAA title, it's a low budget title, so you'll have to use your map a lot and just go around and look for people if you want to find someone. And yeah, unless it's the main quest is different. Like you can always like tap the B button, or I guess I use an Xbox controller, so you might have to press a different button depending on what console you're playing on. But you can tap one of the buttons to get hints, so you'll know where to go next for the main quest line. Unfortunately, like you don't really have any tracking options and stuff for the sub events, the optional side quests. So yeah, like as I'm saying, it's not like a AAA title. You'll have to actually like look around, and you might get lost easily. It's not easy to do all of the side quests. Some of the side quests can be a little bit cryptic, so you'll just have to roam around. But what I like doing was just in between, like on my way, because this game doesn't seem. I completed the first few chapters of the game. I'm almost done it, and I was not able to find a fast travel option. So what I would do is I would talk to some of the characters as I roamed around. The sub-events are definitely marked, but the thing is, it doesn't really tell you who is who, so you kind of have to keep that in your memory, or you'll just have to keep exploring around. And yeah, sometimes if you go a few days without playing the game, yeah, you might get lost again. It might be tricky to pick up again. But it's not like it's too complicated. You just have to spend a couple hours and get into it, and then you'll learn the layout of the school by heart. And then you'll get used to where you can see, getting used to the locations of where the NPCs hang out at what time, all of that. Well, the thing is, it's only going to be more difficult if you decide to be a perfectionist. Then you're going to have a hell of a time. But otherwise, it looks good so far. So let me talk about the battle system. Unfortunately, this is where the game kind of goes shitty. The battle system, it's just like you fight these kind of like they look almost like it's pseudo 3D. They look more like 2D enemies and bosses in these dungeons. It is like a lot of dungeon crawling. You have to pick up all of these loot. You have to get gold. You have to upgrade your equipment. You have to equip all your characters. You have to raise their stats. You have to purchase new abilities. This kind of stuff. The usual kind of stuff you would see in an RPG. But the battle system in the game feels like that of an indie game. And yeah, most of the time it's really on the easy side. And you can win most of the battles by simply mashing like the B button. You have different buttons that correspond to different strength of attacks. So like one of the buttons will be for like a light attack that's faster, whereas some of the other buttons might be for for a heavy attack, but I always just find myself mashing the heavy attack button just to get through the game really quickly, to get through these dungeons. The dungeons is not too difficult though. I mean, there is a couple of teleporting dungeons that like warp you all over the place. Sometimes you'll see some puzzles once in a while, but it's not too difficult. It's actually very much on the easy side. You know, I actually like remapped, because I'm playing on the PC with an Xbox controller. What I ended up doing was I remapped my controller's buttons so that it just mashes the B button, because I don't like to mash so much. My hand hurts after a while, because it can get mashy after a while. And unfortunately, most of the game I was able to get through without grinding, but there are going to be a few segments where you will have to grind, especially if you go through the levels quickly. Yeah, you'll have to grind. There's only main dungeons that you have to complete. There's also optional dungeons that you can do if you want more equipment, more, leveling experience, so you can get more stats. There's optional dungeons. What they do is they do it in the form of keys, and you have a main dungeon key, and you can find these optional dungeon keys as you go through your school life, and you don't have to do the optional stuff to continue throughout the game. But the thing is, again, if you try to go through only the main quest, you might get to a point where you will need to grind, so then you might have to just do some of the optional dungeons just to, level up a little bit. But overall, the battle system is actually really bland and shitty, and in fact, it might have been possible for them to have made the game without doing the battle system. You get what I'm saying? It might have just been more fun just to hang around the school casting spells, because one of the things that you can do in your school life is cast spells to help solve people's problems. You'll have to buy some gold to buy potions to do these spells, but you can kind of do these things. Like one of the spells that you get early on is called the mend spell, and it mends broken objects. So like one of the characters shows you a broken bucket early on in the game, and one of the things that you can do is mend the bucket. And you can just solve people's problems like that. Later in the game you get a cooking spell that will help improve or change like a food's tastes. And sometimes you'll run into a picky eater, and you can solve her quest by using the cooking spell, which you learn from one of the characters in another quest. It's really fun. So that's what I'm saying, is that they could have just made the game without the battle elements, without the dungeon and all that shit, and they could have instead made you roam around the school and have fun, and that would have been a good game. As I said, this game keeps very true, this game adaptation, it keeps very, very much true to the anime, and I'm really happy that they did so. So let me think of what else I can talk about. So it has lots of side content, and yeah, there's just so many NPCs. There's lots of side quests in the game, but even still, there's so many NPCs, and you can just talk to them, you can listen to their rumors, and this kind of stuff. You can just have so much fun exploring all over the place, and yeah, you can unlock these optional dungeons, but when I look at it in the end, it does feel like an indie game, and I don't know if this would actually appeal to a wide audience. I don't think, most of the people who want to play AAA games, they might not want to play this game, but even people who enjoy playing indie games, you might not enjoy this game either. You would actually have to have been a Little Witch Academia fan to actually enjoy this game, because otherwise you just won't laugh along with it. You might just be a little bit confused. So if you do want to pick up this game, and you don't know anything about the franchise, the anime, or anything, I recommend that you watch the OVAs, the movies, and you watch the anime before you go through this game, and then you'll have much more laughs, because I think that's the way this game is meant to be played. You have to enjoy the funny character interactions. Yeah, you can still pick it up if you don't want to watch the anime. This game does have recap scenes, so it will help you understand for both the characters and the plot as well. They have a whole bunch of recap scenes. You can skip them if you don't want to watch them in the game, but this game does have that. And so I guess it is possible, if you don't want to watch the anime, you can just watch those recap scenes. They're each about a couple of minutes long. But honestly, if you had to listen to my opinion, I would say quickly go through the anime first, because you'll enjoy the game much more. Because as I said, with this game, the dungeons, the levels, the battle is just so grindy. I think that most of your enjoyment from the game will actually come from just exploring the school and talking to the NPCs and reading the dialogue. The actual like main storyline and the battle system and stuff, it's not really that good. This is why it's such a weird game. It's like a game that's kind of fan servicey, not inappropriate fan service, but it's kind of fan servicey to people who like Little Witch Academia. So I'm thinking of what else. I think that's about it. When it comes to the battle system, you can choose between the 9 main characters in the franchise, in the anime. One more thing I will address is that the game actually does have a couple of new anime cutscenes in them. But the thing is, each of these anime cutscenes, it's like what you'd expect from other kind of JRPGs. The anime cutscenes in this game, most of them are pretty much like 10 to 20 seconds long. They're not actually that good. But if you really do want to squeeze all of the Little Witch Academia stuff that you can, this game will have extra content for you, so that's one of the benefits to getting the game. But the only thing I really, really hate is that they priced this game kind of high for what it is. It should have been like half of the price of a regular kind of game. It should have been like maybe $20 or $30. I think that the price that they set the game up upon release is a little bit high, so I think you should rent it unless you're a really diehard Little Witch Academia fan, and you really want something to play during a kind of summer drought of games. And otherwise, I think that overall, I mean, you have to just know what you're getting yourself into. Obviously, if you like playing AAA titles, if you don't like JRPGs, and if you don't like anime, and especially if you don't like this kind of anime, you won't really enjoy this game that much. These characters, the interactions and stuff, I say this a lot, but it's low budget, and it's almost like a visual novel in the sense that there's just so much dialogue and so much character interaction, and if you like that kind of stuff, then I will say that undoubtedly, you'd like this kind of game. But if you don't like long narratives, you don't like that slow-driven gameplay, then I don't think you would like this game at all. It's all about knowing what you're getting yourself into. And most likely, I would say, you probably would want to be a fan of the series. You don't have to be to get into the game. You can get into the game completely raw, but I think that it'd be best if you do get yourself familiar with the Little Witch Academia franchise before you do get into the game. If you enjoyed watching the content in this video, please consider giving us a like. Also, please consider subscribing to our channel so that you can be the first to receive all of our latest videos.